Hey guys, today what we're going to talk about in this episode is I want you to question everything. You hear me? I want you to question everything. See, here's the deal. If you want to advance in your career, I don't care what you're doing. It doesn't matter whether you're working for somebody and maybe you want to move up into management, or maybe you want to move into the C-level, or maybe you want to own the company at some point, right? Or maybe you want to break off on your own and become an entrepreneur and start your own thing. It doesn't matter what your goal is, but if you desire to advance your career, it's vitally important that you learn how to become comfortable with questioning everything. Let's talk about it. Welcome to another episode of Career Strategies. My name is Rodney Hughes, Mr. 100%, and today's episode is being brought to you by Interview Prep University. If you need help preparing for a telephone, video, or face-to-face interview, this is a 100% free virtual training platform that is designed to help you exponentially improve your job interview skills. If you'd like to get free access to this platform, all you have to do is go to www.interviewprepuniversity.com. Again, that's www.interviewprepuniversity.com. It's 100% free and it doesn't require you to subscribe to anything. Okay, just go ahead and go to the website. Again, it's www.interviewprepuniversity.com. Okay, so before I dive into this, I want to start off with a quote, okay, because I think this is a very important quote. I freaking love this quote. And it's from a gentleman by the name of Alvin Toffler. Sorry if I mispronounced that. But here's how it reads. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but, keyword, but, those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Let me say that again. But those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Let's go ahead and dive into this. So, again, we're talking about this. I want you to question everything. And let's start here. Do you know what you think you know? I was having I met up with a couple of friends of mine, and I shared this idea with this group. And here's the deal. So oftentimes with my friends, I'm fortunate to have friends who are doing some pretty cool things out here in this world. And sometimes when I have conversations with my friends, we dive into topics that that some people may not necessarily be comfortable talking about because it could kind of make your mind go, right? So I ended up linking up with a friend of mine, with a couple of my friends at Taco Mat recently. And one thing led to the next, and I ended up bringing up this topic that I knew that some people, if I just talked about this with some people, they'd be like, man, what the heck are you talking about? But I decided to share it with them because it just made sense in the conversation that we were talking about. But I said, listen, man, the older I become, the more I'm starting to kind of just question everything. Question all the shit that's been taught to me, okay? And the reason why is because certain things just don't make sense to me. All right, so like as an example, one of the things I mentioned to my friends is, okay, Christopher Columbus. It was the last time I think we linked up, it was somewhere around Christopher Columbus Day. And just thinking about Christopher Columbus, you know, it's kind of crazy if you think about what, you know, Christopher Columbus, at least to me it is. It's like, here goes a person that we've been taught, okay? Keyword, taught. We've been taught that this is a person who discovered the new world, who discovered America. But when I think about this, what's crazy to me is how can you discover something that was already inhabited, right? If human beings already inhabited North America, how can you therefore discover something? Right? I mean, I want you to think about how crazy this sounds, okay? It would be as if I was walking into Walmart and I said, hey, I have discovered Walmart. And if I said that I discovered Walmart and I believed it enough that I took the type of action that Christopher Columbus ended up taking, they would lock me under a jail. They would probably sentence me to death, okay? To the death penalty. That's just the reality of it. But we have been taught that Christopher Columbus discovered America. Okay, this is what we taught. This is what's taught in school. What are some other things that we've taught? Have you ever just kind of just explored this? And like I even, in the conversation that I had with my friends, I said, listen, do you know what you think you know? We people are so confident in the things that they know, but oftentimes if you dig deep enough, you start to kind of question some things a little bit. Like, for instance, one of the things I talked to my friends about, I said, look, let's look at the color black, or let's say the color blue. How about that? We'll say the color blue. I said, what is the color blue? And he pointed it out. He said, that's the color blue. I said, how do you know that's the color blue? And he was like, because I know what my colors are, right? And I said, well, did you ever take a step back to think that somebody had to call that color blue? And that somebody just made this up in their mind. They said, you know what? I'm going to call this blue. I'm going to call that black. I'm going to call that yellow. I'm going to call that white. These all started in the mind of someone. And someone just said one day, this is blue. Okay? But what if blue is actually green? What if we would have just said that this is green? Could you imagine? Let's use money as an example. You look at a dollar bill. I tell people this all the time. If the U.S. government were to come out today and say that, you know what, we are changing our form of currency. No longer will the dollar bill be a dollar bill. The new dollar bill will be toilet paper. What we previously referred to as toilet paper. Do you realize that people would start killing people over toilet paper? This is a reality. And all that happened is that somebody gave money, the idea of money, a new definition. Again, I ask you, do you know what you think you know? Now, I know you're thinking at this point, you might be thinking at this point, okay, Rod, you're being kind of weird. But listen, I'm just telling you what I think. The older I get, the more I'm just starting to question everything. I was looking at a Joe Rogan podcast not long ago, and he had a paleontologist on his podcast. And the paleontologist ended up saying that the Tyrannosaurus Rex had previously been discovered and was known by a different name. And then somebody else came along and just said, no, we're going to call this the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Huh? That's essentially what he said. And it just got me thinking, like, everything that we know for the most part has been taught to us by somebody. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's a fact. It really doesn't. And what's so amazing is that if you listen to a lot of people, which is one of the main reasons why I try to tell people, if you're listening to me, right? I don't want you to believe anything that comes out of my mouth. I want you to think. I want you to think. And the process of thinking starts with asking a question. You understand that? It starts with asking a question. not just accepting what has been given to you as fact. Because here's the thing. If we would have just accepted what was given to us as human beings from the people from, the earliest civilization, we would have never advanced as a people. The things that we appreciate about the world now we wouldn't be appreciating them if no one ever questioned something. You understand that? Which actually takes me into the next thing I want to talk to you about. Innovation and improvement only comes through questioning. It only comes through questioning. You got to question something, man. You can't just take what people say and just run with it, because people are going to tell you all kinds of stuff, especially in your career. And here's the thing, here's what messes a lot of people up. And that's one of the, it's kind of like a gift and a curse of the internet. Now it's so easy for anybody to share their opinion, including myself, okay? It's so easy to share your opinion to people that you don't know that a lot of times the information is not really vetted that much. So people just say all kinds of stuff. And not to mention, in your career, you're going to have people come up to you and or you're going to be involved in situations where people are going to share their opinion. And you have to be able to identify when it's just an opinion. As a matter of fact, I would almost treat almost everything you hear as just an opinion. Like, let me be real with you. Let me be real with you for a second. I think one of the things that kind of taught me to question things is with my mother. My mother had been on her deathbed multiple times before she ended up passing. And when I say multiple times, I'm not talking like 2 or 3 times. I'm talking about quite a few times in my life. And the thing that I remember most about this situation, it was my mother. I truly believe it. It's my mother that really confirmed my trust and faith in God. It really was my mother, because I can't tell you how many times I've seen my mom on her deathbed and had quote unquote doctors. I'm not gonna call it quote unquote. They are doctors. I've had doctors come into the room and act as if they are quote unquote. Now that's the proper use of it. I've had doctors come in a room and act quote unquote like they are God. Like they just have like whatever they speak, okay? You might as well sketch it in stone. And I can't tell you how many times they've been wrong. They've been flat out wrong. I'm telling you, I can't even count how many times this happened. It's happened throughout me growing up. And that was the first thing that, number one, helped me establish my true faith in God. Because I came to realize, like, oh, man don't got the answer. Man doesn't have the answer. You can speak as eloquently as you like to speak. You can be as convincing as you want to be, but that don't make you God. That doesn't mean that you got all the answers. You are not God, my friend. And once I started to realize that started the process also of me questioning things. See, I don't just take stuff at face value. You can't just come up to me and just say, oh, this is how it is because I say this is how it is. I don't give a damn what you say, what somebody says it is. And I just have this mindset of just questioning things. I might not always outwardly question things, right? Because then that could be kind of annoying, right? But for sure, internally, I'm thinking and I'm questioning, right? Because again, you got to understand, and this is like a mind-blowing thing. Once you start to question things, your whole paradigm starts to shift. Once you start questioning things, it's like you start to see the world differently. You understand? And by seeing the world differently, you're able to innovate new things in the world, and you're able to improve situations in the world. You understand? And this is so important for your career, because here's the other thing, which brings me to the third point that I want to make about this subject, as far as you questioning everything and why it's so important. You have to understand that you have been programmed since you were a little kid. Since you were a little kid, you've been programmed not to question things. In a lot of instances, it started with your own parents. Your own parents tried to discourage you from questioning things. Right? Depending on what kind of household you grew up in, your parents might have been, don't ask me questions, do as I say. Right? You ever heard the expression, do as I say, not as I do? Right? Don't make no sense. Right? You ever had an adult just kind of get annoyed with you because you're asking questions? It's kind of crazy, but it happens. But you got to learn how to question things. Okay? Question everything. See, because I think if an idea is a rock solid idea, it can stand up to questioning. And it doesn't matter what we're talking about. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about religion, whether we're talking about something that revolves around your career, whether it talks about something in your relationship with someone else. Doesn't matter. If it's a rock solid idea, it can stand up against questioning. You understand? So as a person, if you want to advance your situation, you want to do better about your situation, you want to create something new or do something new or try something new or whatever it may be, it all starts with you questioning the things around you. We're in a world we don't know. It's so, you think about all the things that we know on this planet, and what's crazy is once you realize how much stuff we don't know. There's so much that we don't know in this world, but you'll never figure out the things that we don't know if you don't dare to question what we do know. You understand that? When I think about people like Elon Musk and some of these people that we know who have gone out to accomplish great things, whether it's Steve Jobs, whether it's even, Martin Luther King, whether it's Oprah, whether it's, just anybody. The thing about all of these people, which I'm sure I can't say for sure because I don't know them, right? But I would dare to imagine that these are people who were willing to question what was in front of them. You understand? Would we have had a Martin Luther King without him questioning something's not, this ain't right? Right? And questioning, the status quo. Would we have an Oprah if she wasn't willing to question the status quo? Would we have the Elon Musk, the Bill Gates, the Steve Jobs, all these people? Would we have these people if they weren't willing to question everything about what they were doing? If I had to guess, I would say probably not. We wouldn't have these people if they weren't willing to question. So again, what I want you to take from this is really, I want you to question. And the reason why I want you to question everything as it relates to your career is because I think that's the starting point of you improving your career. That's the starting point right there. You got to question the stuff you think you know right now. Because once you start questioning it, you'll start actually thinking. The problem is so many people don't think anymore. We're so used to being led. We're so used to people just telling us anything. People can just tell us anything. And it amazes me how many people just openly believe stuff without even exploring the validity of something nowadays. It's kind of crazy. But I don't want you to do that. I want you to start questioning everything. And not to a point to where you're just, being sickening, okay? But I do want you to question things. I want you to question everything. I want, as it relates to your career, if you're not where you want to be at right now at this point in your life, start asking questions, because I believe the more questions you start to ask, the more clarity you will start to get. And through that clarity, you'll be able to take more decisive action so that you can get into that better situation that you desire to get into. Okay? Listen, hopefully you got great value from this episode. Listen, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to purchase a copy of my book, The Ugly Truth About Getting Hired, How to Land the Job of Your Dreams Regardless of the Competition. Maybe you have an interview coming up. Maybe, 5 years from now or 10 years from now, you'll have an interview coming up. And when you have that interview come up, the biggest challenge you face in the interview process is really going to be competition. Okay? The world is an extremely competitive place right now, but you have no earthly freaking idea about how competitive things are going to get over the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Okay? It's going to get so outrageously competitive in the job force that it is bananas. Okay? And this is going to be a go-to book that can change your life. Okay? Pick up a copy of it, the physical copy, by going to my website, www.theuglytruthbook.com. Again, www.theuglytruthbook.com. When you place your order, I'll send out the physical copy of this book, and you'll immediately have access to the downloadable copy of this book. All right? Again, just head on over to www.theuglytruthbook.com. Listen, thanks for checking out. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure that you share this particular episode with everybody on your social media platforms. And listen, man, I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.